Hello, this is Sam Kitson here. I'm going to be doing a video diary on the week 3 assignment, digital tools for formative assessment. I figure I've been doing a lot of writing. You've been reading a lot of writing, so let's switch things up a bit and let's do a video diary. Um, so what I'm going to be talking about today is basically what I did uh, and what I found out, and I do have it right here. This is the one that I gave out. I did use Go Formative. Uh, I had never used it before in class, and I had heard of it absolutely. And then when you went over it in our webinar, I thought, man, this is a pretty cool tool. I liked what I hadn't seen the changes since they had updated it, and so it seemed really interesting. There was a few on the ultimate list of 65 digital tools that I want to use going forward that I've heard of either peers using or I've seen them in practice. I'll just go through a few right now. Class Kick. I've used Edu Creations, and I think that's a very actual useful tool. Flipgrid. I'm going through a leading edge certification right now through San Diego County, and Flipgrid. We use that a lot, and I like it, although I found that the it only allows you to use 90-second tools or 90-second videos unless you pay for it, which I don't like as much. Google Forms, I've used that. Kahoot, that's fun. The one downside that I found from Kahoot, since it's kind of game based for the junior high and high school crowd, it gets competitive. And sometimes the students only focus on the competitive part and kind of forget what we're actually using it for. Um, and then we've used Nearpod, Padlet. Padlet's a good one. I use that a lot, especially for collaborative formative assessment. And then Quizlet I use constantly as well. I looked at Seesaw. That one looked really cool. Our school doesn't use it. We've used VoiceThread. But today, again, I'm going to be focusing on formative and what I did there. I guess Go Formative, um, because that's the one I use. That's the one I think I like a lot, and probably I like the most of all of these, and the one I'll continue to use going forward. So my process for selecting this tool, I do have a workshop that I do, and in that workshop, each kid has iPads, and then we're able to mirror those iPads on a TV. And so I like the idea of having them go on their iPad, take something, and then I can mirror what they're doing on there. And so I can give them immediate feedback based on their answers in real time that they can all see, and then give each other peer feedback on. I chose it over the other ones really because I feel like this one kind of Go Formative takes the best of all of the tools, and it just gives you a lot more variety. You're able to ask a bunch of different questions. It doesn't it takes away the competitive aspect of Kahoot and just has to deal with the content. Um, as fun as Kahoot is, I just don't think it's as valuable for a formative assessment. I think it's more fun for like a engagement tool at the beginning of a lesson, just to get kids engaged in it. Um, but it sometimes gets kids off task. So I did like Go Formative in terms of everything that it offered, and it was just content based, and I could give that feedback immediately by just mirroring it on the main TV. So the lesson that I did, and this is an ongoing unit, and it's having my students analyze different post-secondary pathways in terms of a labor market analysis report that I gave them from the San Diego Workforce Partnership. Basically, analyzed all the different industry sectors, um, and it projects what it gives a report on the labor market currently, and then projects it for the next 2 years as well, which helps. For me, I'm teaching seniors, and I want them, and it's in economics, so I want them to see where the economy is growing, where it's going forward, and if they're choosing their best post-secondary pathways after high school, it's based on data and reports, and not just on what they've heard or what they think sounds cool, but there's actually some grounded data there. Um, And so they were given reports for all the different industry sectors, and they were asked to um, look at those and just look at the highlights and see where the trends are going. And then based upon that, they would choose 3 careers and do an analysis on those 3 based on these reports and based upon their own strengths, interests, and values, and see where those line up, where those are going, and why those are good choices. So this was given right after they read through those reports, and the ones they did were a public sector, tourism sector, healthcare sector, and ICT, information communication technologies sector. And this was meant just to see, okay, we just read those reports. Have you kind of gotten the most important information out of those? Where are you at? Do we need to go back and look at those again? Because they are, they're a high Lexile range in terms of what the reports are. They're not easily accessible tools. And so even though we've been practicing with these for a while, I do want to make sure that they're getting the information they need out of them. And so this assessment was given right after that. I did think that this tool enhanced my ability to gain feedback for formative assessment for this lesson, because what I was able to do is right after they had took this, it took them about 5 minutes. I was able to then post everything they did on the main screen. I could see which questions they got right, which questions they got wrong. In a couple cases, there was a couple questions that few of the students got wrong, and so I had them work with the students who got it right. They were able to talk it over to, and then after that, I had them talk about what they think would be the right answer after it, and then I just kind of gave my own little feedback based on that. And so what I was really looking to do is the feedback at first did not actually come from me, but it was more peer feedback. So I paired those students who missed that part with the students who got that section and had them give feedback to their peers, and then at the end I gave more general feedback on it and anything that I thought that they had missed. So I did use this information for differentiated learning. I had, again, a couple students who went through this, and I saw that they had a hard time pulling information from the reports, which wasn't surprising. Again, they're difficult reports to pull from. It takes a high Lexile range, and so I was able to go back through that and work with them individually, because this was a assignment that they went through in partners, but just a couple. It was really one student who had a hard time pulling out the information that they needed, so I worked with them directly based on the fact that he wasn't able to pull out the information that I wanted him to. The students did like this tool. Again, they've used Kahoot several times. They had never used this one, so and they've also used Google Forms as an assessment tool, so they're used to taking these types of quizzes on their iPad, so it wasn't brand new to them. But it did give them the opportunity to do it in a little bit different way. And what was new was, right after we had took it, it gave them immediate feedback. I did set the parameters on it so that it would tell them exactly which questions they got wrong afterwards. And then after they did their peer feedback time, I gave them the option of going back and changing their answers and doing it again. Because the goal here is to get everything right. It's not just for a grade. To me, it's gaining mastery. So I was okay with them going back and changing their answers based upon new learning, and that's what I did have them do. So they enjoyed it. They were looking for that competitive aspect that they saw in Kahoot, but I felt like this engaged them more with the actual content, whereas not just the competitive side. I'm going to continue to use this. So I have an ongoing unit for economics that really is geared towards preparing them for post-secondary pathways. It's a workshop that I lead every week on Wednesday with my seniors. And we're really diving into both microeconomics and the personal finance side and preparing these students for life after high school, but also for teaching them, it's not just the, get your financial aid, go to a junior college, transfer to a 4 year, and then what's your next pathway? I want these kids to have a plan in motion after high school based upon data, looking at, okay, this is where the market is going. This is, healthcare has continually improved over the past 10, 20, 30 years. It's recession proof, as this quiz talks about. So if you have an interest in that healthcare, okay, based upon this report, where are the jobs at? And then according to that, what education do you need to fulfill that? That's what our goal is. And so this is high Lexile range in terms of what they have to read. And so I really want to keep using this for every lesson to see, are they able to pull out that important information? Because this is very important information. This is very practical, very relevant. So the great thing is they're engaged. They're constantly engaged because they realize how relevant this is to them. But the difficult part is making sure they understand what they're actually reading. It's a lot of data, a lot of bar graphs, a lot of percentages being thrown at them. And I want to make sure that they know what that actually means and that it's not just numbers to them. It's not just, charts. There's actually meaning to it. And so by doing this continually and saying, okay, are you pulling out the unnecessary information? I can keep going through this and make sure that they're prepared after high school. That's my passion as a teacher. It's why I teach 12th grade government and economics, because I really love to make sure my students are prepared as best as possible for after high school. I don't think we do that enough, and I want to be an educator who does that. And then best practices. I think this needs, to me, this is a great tool. Like I said, to use right after they just read an informative article or those reports, and see if they got the highlights out of it. If they got the important parts, you can then just go right to the and mirror up to see who got the ones right. Have them work with their peers and do some peer feedback and get right to where they missed and what needs to be gone over again. I think other tools like Kahoot are better used at the beginning of a lesson, just to look at prior knowledge and get them engaged, get them talking. But this is a great mid-lesson formative assessment to see if they're able to pull from those articles, from those reports, and get that necessary information. So I loved using it. I'm going to keep using it. I'm going to keep learning how to use it. And I love all the tools it provides. And I think going forward, this is going to be a great thing. So, all right, that's it.